Hello everybody, I'm Prowl and we are going to talk about building and sculpting in Reforj. A couple of things about it actually. First of all, it is the coolest and best system that I've ever personally used. It's really awesome. It's really cool. I like it a whole lot. And I actually even have some insider information that has been given to me by Stampy, and he said I am allowed to share some of this with you guys in terms of some of the feedback I'm going to give, because I've been giving them some live feedback during my streams, and they have already been talking about these things and trying to solve some of these issues. But I want to bring them to you guys, and we're just going to talk about some of the things that can make building and sculpting even better in Reforj. Again, I want to highlight, this is an amazing system already in the game. If it released as is today, people would generally be very happy about it. But we are in the pre-alpha stages of Reforj, meaning they want feedback on all of the things big and small. And we could take a system that's really special like sculpting and building in Reforj, and we can make them even better. So that's what we're going to be aiming to do. I'm going to kind of go over this in sections. I have off to my screen on the right here just some notes on the document that I'm going to be submitting on their feedback page that I'm going to kind of go through and just talk about a little bit. If you want to upvote this feedback, add your own feedback to this, or say that you do or do not like the things that I'm suggesting, have different ideas, whatever, you can do that either on their official Discord page in the section where I post this, or you can do this down in the comment section below. I'm sure they might browse the comments and see some things there. Even if they don't, I will. And if I see anything good that I think will add to my feedback here, then I'll gladly take it to Reforj, to 4J Studios for this. But anyways, let's go ahead and let's get started and let's talk about some of the good and some of the bad about how building works. So I think the first thing I just want to highlight here is something that I actually think works about as perfect as it can, and I couldn't really think of much feedback on this. Maybe slightly when it comes to one of the sculpting things kind of relates to how this functions, but basically like you can place blocks above or to the sides of other blocks without seeing their block faces, and I love that. I have not come across an instance personally yet where I've tried to do something like this and it not work outside of me just not being good with the controller and kind of not placing my cursor in the right spot. Its predictive nature is really quite good. It's quite perfect. I like it a lot. I don't know that I would change a whole lot about it. If I'm just thinking this on the fly actually. If I were to change one thing, just one thing, I would say that sometimes when you go to place a block and like you have this like other block here that is actually a surface that you're looking at, I can't just snap a block in front of this. I'd have to get down or kind of get off to the edge and like figure that out. Maybe they could make it to where like if I get really close to the edge here like this, maybe it's just slightly on this block or slightly in front of it. If they could give me the snapping feature, kind of like you see if I'm up here and I do this, that'd be pretty nice. But it's such a small thing. Like it's not that big of a deal. The way that it works now is honestly really good. That's just the only piece of feedback that I could possibly give on this. And I literally just thought about that in the moment right now, but this is awesome. Amazing feature. I absolutely love it. Now, here's the thing that I don't purely like. Now, while I'm here in creative mode, you'll see it's not going to be that bad. It's the block dragging feature. So if you just hold down the left trigger button on controller here and you just move your body, it will trace your path. So I can go back, I can go left, I can go forward. For creative building, this is pretty nice. It is. It doesn't beat like a world edit type thing, and maybe eventually Reforj will get something like that either by them or by mods that will allow us to do such a thing. But from a like pure block placing like perspective, it's pretty nice. I do like it. But here's the problem is it honestly is not good for, it just honestly isn't good for like survival based building. And let me kind of show you what I mean by that. We're gonna do it actually with this roof. Let me grab those same blocks that I have up there and let me take these down really quick, and I'm going to show you why this is not the best feature when it comes to building and survival. So I think this is supposed to go right here, and then let's say I just want to drag across here, and then I fall off of this little ledge right here. I fall off of those steps. Now these blocks aren't where I want them anymore, and I have to break them and replace new ones. This could also just be, here, I'll show you another example. It could also just be you're kind of working at a funky angle, and maybe you don't keep your cursor perfectly straight. I'm going like this, and I'll actually move that way a little bit too much, and you get off track. And the getting off track thing in survival is actually going to happen quite a lot. It happens to me quite a bit, and I'm sure for most players it'll happen quite a bit as well. So I think at least for survival play, you're going to want this feature to work a little bit differently. And this is how I would do it if I were the Reforj team, the Forge team. I would have it so I'm gonna click on this block, and I'm gonna hold my trigger button just like I was before. I'm gonna move over one. So once I've held a button, and they could do it either way. They could do it once I've clicked and held, it knows that this is the axis I want to go on, and it could lock my axis then, or they could lock it based off my first movement. Probably based off my first movement would be best. So if I move a little bit this way and I get that second block, to me now, that should tell the game I am locked on that axis. I do not want that axis to change. I want it to always go in this direction. And then even better is if I could have it go in this direction by moving my cursor over, and it reaches far as normal block reach would be. That'd be great, because here's the problem now. Look, I'm on a hill right now, so I'm gonna go up and see it locks me over there. So like, it's so hard in survival play to just drag and place blocks. There are some instances where it's okay, but in a lot of instances, the terrain that you're working with is not even. So definitely, I would love to see the ability to have it locked to a plane. And then if I wanted to change plane now to go to the right, instead of doing it like they have it now, where I could just move to the right, instead have it to where when I'm moving, I just let go of my trigger, reselect this face, and now I can just move to my right. I think that would be really good. I think they could probably make this work with the diagonal too. So if like I'm moving diagonal like this, have it lock me now on the diagonal plane. That would be my feedback. If they wanted to, if they really like this method for creative mode, I wouldn't blame them. It's pretty nice. Or maybe if they want to give people the option, right? Maybe some people would like one way better than the other. It might depend on what type of building that you're doing. Then maybe have an option that players can select to either do the plane locking or the follow the player method. I think that's roughly what I would call them. And I think that would be fine to give the option. You could maybe have one work in creative in one way and then it work in survival the other way. It'd probably be confusing. So I would either change it to my method and get rid of the other method entirely, because simply having to let go of the trigger and then click the trigger again is not that big of a deal. Or make it an in-game option. One of the two, whichever they prefer to do. And a second one that I'm going to talk about here is the one that I've been talking to Stampy about. Stampy Joe is one of their developers. Many of you probably know who Stampy is. He's quite the big YouTuber himself on Minecraft Console Edition back in the day. And he's doing a great job helping these guys out. And we're gonna have a conversation about this, but here's basically what I'm talking about is to currently let's put ourselves in. Let me get a bunch of blocks. Okay, we have 200 of a block. I'm gonna put myself into survival mode, and currently, if you want to have a shape that you make, you place the blocks down, and then you go to the shape that you want to do. And then you carve or sculpt each one of those blocks. Now, when you're doing this on an individual basis, I'm thinking like when I'm making this slope, for example, or even like maybe smaller stuff, like I'm doing little detailing like this guy and this guy and this guy. Individual sculpting is great. That's the method that I would most of the time prefer to do it when I'm doing building of most types. But when you're doing building like this, where you're doing long runs, like across a roof, like this whole roof, for example, having to go through and place all the blocks for that roof first, and then select your sculpted shape, and then carve all of those shapes, it takes a lot of time. It's not convenient to have to touch every block twice, especially when you already know that the block that you want to place, in this case, is a stair. So that's a problem that needs a solution, and they have been working on some solutions. I don't want to speak too much to them more because I don't really know that I fully understand their implementation of it, but the basis of it is, well, they have two things that they're looking at doing. Thing number one, which I think is really good and they should just do, is they're going to make it so it takes about half of the amount of time to sculpt a block as it does to break a block. So you can see breaking the block takes that much time, but also sculpting a block takes, I guess it's a little bit less time, but they want to make the time to sculpt even less. So that's one thing. I like that idea. Make it take less time. And creative mode is instant, so it's not that bad. But thing number two is they were talking about giving some potential way to maybe like clone or copy a block. So basically, like, I could look at this stair block and then like put it in one of these like empty slots or something like that, and it would then know that, okay, he wants to actually place the new blocks down as that shape. So that was one thing, and I don't think that I like that as the best option, and we'll see what comes of this. But honestly, you guys tell me what you think. I think it would just be best if when I go to select a sculpted shape, such as this stair right here, I just want to place it down as the sculpted shape. I just want to plop it down just like that, and it be a stair. And then I can also carve stairs at this shape, right? So it would just do both. Whatever you select, it places blocks like that, and it sculpts blocks like that. Because changing it back is easy. If I want to change this from a stair to a regular block, I just tap my B button, bam, I'm there. I'm back to regular block again. So resetting it is super easy. It's not inconvenient. It's visual right there on your screen. I know what block I'm going to place because it's right there in front of me. So there's no confusion or, oh, what block am I on or anything like that. And really the only difficult part that I can see is they don't have any type of logic built into the game right now that I'm aware of that lets the blocks know how you want to do things based on your orientation. Everything's based on where you're selecting on the block. So for this block to become a stair, I have to look at the area on the block that I want to carve, and it doesn't matter where I'm standing. I can look at the backside and it'll carve the backside. So it's not like Minecraft where to place a stair block in this direction, I just face this way. If I want the stair to face this way, I face this way. Like in Minecraft, it's all based on your player position. Typically, some things I think, at least in Bedrock, are based on like where on the block you look. But again, for the most part, it's like where you're standing. They don't have that type of thing built into Reforj yet, to my knowledge. So I would just recommend they do that. I think that would be the best thing. I know to me it sounds like the easiest thing because I already have the buttons here. To them, maybe it's not as easy because then they have to measure like player position compared to like block place position and determine orientation that way. I think that's the way that players are going to like the most. You could maybe do it a different way, right? You could maybe make it to where when I have the stair block placed, selected, I get this little triangle, the little like green outline thing, and then if I want it to face this way, then it'll face this way. If I want it to face that way, I can like look over there and it'll face that way. But I could see that having some problems. What if I wanted to place a stair on the side of a block here? Well, it's probably not going to work then. So everything's going to have its ups and downs, its benefits and its drawbacks. But I think I would just do it based on player positioning when you're trying to place a already sculpted, like selected sculpted block. Now, when it comes to these sculpted shapes, this is something I kind of want to spend a little bit of time talking about. And I'm going to kind of skip around in my document here to the last section because I think it's going to apply to pretty much everything I say here, which is we need to be careful. By we, I mean like the player base, but I guess I also mean Forj. I would rather than be careful about how many block sculpted shapes to add. It's easy for those of you that are watching that are just playing the game. It's always easy to want more and more and more. Everybody, me too. I want a lot more shapes because it sounds like fun to be able to deal with them. I'm a pretty advanced player. I have a lot of time to learn and understand the game. And I'm a more advanced player when it comes to this type of stuff, technical player anyways. So you could give me layers of menus or lots of options and I'll figure it out. I'll be okay. But if you think how most players work, the average player, whether it be the person that only has a few hours a week to play, or the kid, or the older adult, or the person who just doesn't want to invest a lot of mental time into a game, the more stuff you put here, the more you're going to turn them off. You can fit a few more things, yes, but in general, the more you put here and the more options you give them to shape something like this, the more you're going to turn them off to an extent. There's a fine balancing point, right? You can go up to a certain extent, everybody's happy, and then you start to go over a line, and then you start to kind of drag that player interest down. You're gonna make things seem difficult, and we don't wanna do that, right? We do want options, but we don't want to turn people off the game, because if you're like me and you want to see Reforj succeed, you want it to appeal to the broadest audience possible, and we don't want to turn that audience off because we decided we wanted to make the game too difficult. Reforj started with before they went to this pre-alpha testing phase, they started with 660 possible shapes. 660. How many do we have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you count a full block, 6. It went from 660 to 6. I think that was a good decision. I think that was a really good decision. Now, that being said, we are going to want to add some more shapes in. And then I would say any shapes above and beyond that should probably be left to modded. I'm going to say actually 2 things here. So thing number 1, they shouldn't feel like they didn't need to add a ton of shapes, because hopefully they haven't announced this or said anything about this yet, but hopefully they decide that modded will exist in some way, shape, or form in Reforj. Leave all of the extra shapes to people that want to make mods. So if there's an individual that really just has to have all of these extra shapes and they want to really customize a build and make it look amazing, they can download a mod that'll allow them to do that. Hopefully they can download that mod on a console as well, not just a PC. So that's thing number 1. Thing number 2, beyond the shapes that I'm about to give you, I think that at that point, they should just have in their minds, they're going to stop. No more shapes until people just got to play the game for a long time. Because this is how you want to do it, right? I'm going to suggest some shapes here. I think I'm going to bring us from like 5 to like 10 or something like that. They stop there and just let people play the game. Let people play the game for the next 6 months or year, whatever, right? Go through the pre-alpha, maybe even hit like normal alpha or beta, expand the pool to 2,000, 5,000 players, whatever it is they plan on doing. Let it go that long. Let people have some serious time in the game, and just keep an eye on the feedback. If something emerges, if everybody's pointing towards, okay, man, this is great, but I really want this shape, and it just kind of seems like a consensus that everybody just kind of wants this shape, it feels like it's missing from the game, then I think it's a good time to consider adding that particular shape. But on the flip side, if you just let people play the game and 6 months down the line, nobody's really talking about the shapes anymore, and people are building some cool, amazing things and talking about how good the building is, you probably just don't need to add anymore. Maybe in a future update you do or something as like a fun thing, but you probably don't need to add any more shapes because people are doing good with what they have. Finally, before we get into those shapes, the last thing I'm going to say about not expanding too much too fast or reeling some of you guys in that are like big fans of the game and just want to have cool stuff, limiting the number of shapes will help this game have an identity to itself. Think about Minecraft. Anybody can see a Minecraft build that's never even played the game or touched the game, and they can see it and know, oh, that's from that Minecraft game, right? Like Minecraft has an identity. You see something from that game and you know it's from that game. That identity is really cool. It's a really good thing to have. If you start to allow these houses and structures and builds in Reforj be so extravagant in terms of how many ways and how much detail you can put into one, it's not really going to be distinguishable from something that exists in Unreal Engine 5 or like a building you would see in Fortnite or something like it's not going to be distinguishable from structures in other games. It's just going to be another structure that looks good, but it doesn't have an identity to it. So I think when you have those limitations, it allows the game to establish an identity. Players get to be creative with what's there and get to do cool stuff. Like I'm happy with what I've been able to do here with some of these semicircle shapes, and I have a roof in this other world right here. I've been building this one in survival mode, and I like it. I like what I have to build with, and I don't feel like I need a whole lot more outside of these shapes I'm about to tell you. But like, look at this. Let me get over there. Like, I like that shape. That's kind of cool. I could have made it a straight line. I decided to give it the little curves there. Like, I have little things that I can do that feel really good. Now, there are some additional shapes that I would add in. Okay, so here they are. I would add in a wall block, which would kind of be like a slab, but in the middle, right? So if I were to place this guy down, do slab, instead of me carving off one side or carving off the other side, give me that in the middle. And just like walls in Minecraft, make it to where actually, I guess, like if I just place the wall block down, maybe it's just like a little pillar. And then if I place it beside another block, they connect to each other. Or I don't know, maybe they have their own logic that they would like to do, but having it be able to connect to stuff, like if I wanted to have something like this, I could put a wall block right here, and then it knows that, oh, okay, I kind of need to connect those, and I kind of need to make it a post, and probably the wall block needs to be a little bit shorter unless it connects to something, just like the ones in Minecraft work. If you've played Minecraft, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to over explain it. So I think we need a wall block. I think we need a fence block, and I would do it as a block. I would not say let's bring in a crafting thing and have people craft fences. Do you know why? Because A, that's extra crafting that we have to do, but B, if you have to craft fences, they're going to have to add a fence block for maybe all the wood types. That means that if there's a block in the game that you would like to make a fence block, but they didn't decide to add that particular texture as a fence to the game, you wouldn't be able to do it. So just allow us to just give us a shape in here that allows us to do wall, allows us to do fence, probably allows us to do fence gates as well. That way we have a easy in and out. Fence gate doesn't need a special texture or anything on top of it like a door or something does. So I think we could do that from the carving menu or the sculpting menu as well. Also, a best thing I could describe it as is a carpet block. Kind of like in Minecraft, you have a carpet, but instead of like the slab where I take half of it, like have me take it all the way down to a thin layer. So give me that like thin layer carpet block type cutout for sculpting. And then a couple that exist, one right here is the cylinder block. You can't currently carve a full block into a cylinder, so give me that cylinder block. Also, make the cylinder block have the connected texture thing too. So if I place down a block here and a block here, and I put a cylinder right here, carve a cylinder right here, I want it to know that, oh, okay, I can connect this log to this log, and I need to put a corner piece here. Same here, right? It knows that there's a log up there, so this needs to be a corner so it can connect those two. It needs to have that level of logic. That way we can build trees like this, or maybe people could do other stuff with it, like make cool looking pipes or something like that as well. But we definitely need something like this because we're going to want to build custom trees that can look similar to this. Also, I would say do that same thing, but with a square, like with your full block, just carve down to a smaller size. So maybe trim off like the outer, I don't know, quarter or fifth or sixth of the block. So I have a smaller inner square, and then I could make a tree kind of similarly to this, but it be square, but not full block size square. I don't know. That's probably not as needed, but I just thought it'd be something that players would like, because some players might like to make square trees and then have square branches, and you would need a smaller block than a full block to make squared off branches. So yes, that's the blocks I would add in. I already mentioned the logic system. I have that noted here. And another one that they've been talking about, like possibly adding in, is sculpting the corner of a block. I think I want this. I'm not like ultra convinced of it. It would still be the same shapes that we already have, but like some of them can apply to like the corner of a block, right? Like depending on what it would be, like this 45-degree slope. If you let me apply this to the corner of a block, that would be kind of cool. Be kind of like some of the like terrain that generates like naturally right now, like something like this guy right here. You'd be able to start to do stuff like that. Again, I don't want things to be too complex or complicated though, so I might consider this as a later on thing. But generally, I like the idea. I was messing around with chat the other day. We were messing around with making stuff like this in corners. Like this is a diagonal block, so it almost kind of feels like it's a corner in a way. I could do this going like vertically sloped too, of course. So we may or may not need the corner of a block thing, but the idea is fun. The idea is fun. I do agree, and it would only apply to existing shapes where you could like realistically apply it to a corner. And another thing too, this is a small issue with sculpting, is the ability to sculpt slabs. If I want to sculpt this block into a top slab, I can't do it. I would have to dig under it and look at the bottom of the block, because see, normally you'd have to do it like this. And if I wanted to carve the bottom out, I would have to sculpt the bottom of the block, but I can't see the bottom of this block. So there's only two ways I can do it. Really, there's only one way I could do it. I have to dig under the block and look at the bottom and then sculpt it. So I think maybe something kind of like how this tool works. This is the multi-mining tool. If I had something like this to where when I'm looking at the center of this block right here, let's say I wanted to do it with this. Let's say I wanted to carve this into a bottom slab, just right here. It's built into the wall, but I want to make it a top slab. If I look like towards the bottom, it would like highlight the bottom of it and let me know that it's going to take the bottom off. If I highlight the top, it's going to tell me something on screen that'll let me know that I'm going to carve the top off. And if I look in the middle, a lot like you have now, it would carve the middle out, and it would, you know, make it a slab in this orientation. So I think the logic that they need is already there for it. I think they just need to apply it. So that way I could carve this into something in a wall or something down on the ground into a bottom or top slab without having to physically see that face. And the last thing I think I would add, this is my last piece of feedback, I want to be able to sculpt an already sculpted block. If I have a block down and maybe I'm building something and I think I want it to be a stair, so I make it a stair block, and then I think, what would this look like if it was a 45-degree slope instead? Instead of having to break the block, place the new block, and then sculpt it, I feel like it would just feel good if I could just sculpt a block that's already there. Like I could just go into my little menu here and I could just sculpt something that's already there, give me the same little highlights on this that you give me when it's a full block, and let me resculpt it. Maybe not even just resculpt it into a different shape. Maybe I could even change its direction. Like I could come over here and change the direction of it by looking at the face, and then it would flip it to the other direction. Just a little convenience thing, but I think it makes sense. I think it would fit in the game to have the ability to do that. Anyways, that's what I got, guys. Honestly, again, building and sculpting in the game is great as is. If we do these little things and do them right, I think that they can just call the building and sculpting system done, and they probably don't need to touch it again, at least until a lot more people get in and start doing a lot more things. Maybe some little stuff comes up here and there, but for the most part, this feels pretty good. I think it's good as is. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below what your opinion is on how the building and sculpting work in the game, if you've used it or if you've just seen people do it. If you have any questions about how it works, let me know those things too. Give me feedback on what you think of my ideas and my thoughts. If you agree, disagree, whatever, drop those comments down in the comment section below or throw them up on the Reforj Discord channel. Thanks everybody. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.